Here are the top 5 ways to reduce mistakes when live arbitrage betting and increase your profits. Welcome to Juice Bets. My name is Trevor. I've been trying live arbitrage betting the past 2 weeks or so, and I've definitely learned a lot. Like when I started, I didn't know about a lot of this stuff that really does make it so much easier when I'm arbing, and also it reduces tons and tons of mistakes that eat into those profits. So I'm going to talk about these 5 things today to hopefully make it easier on you guys as well. Let's get into it. Okay, let's start off with tip number 1 on how to reduce these mistakes, and it is make sure your environment and your technology is set up to your liking, right? So this means good internet connection, right? You can't be having, lagging connections and issues with that, because that can just introduce a ton of issues. So make sure your internet is at least good, right? Great internet makes things even easier, but at least make it good. Multiple screens. I personally like this. I've seen people just use their phone, but I think if you're wanting to reduce mistakes and you've seen mistakes, having multiple screens allows you to be more calm when, a line moves or you only get one bet in on one side. Having the option to, pull up some like an ARB calculator on one screen or look for another sports book on another screen to see if that line is there as well. Having multiple screens just makes things easier and keeps you calm. And speaking of calm, another thing to make sure your environment is good, keep it unbothered, quiet area with no one around you. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I'm live arbing, I am focused. I might be playing music, but other than that, I'm focused fully on finding arbitrage opportunities, right? I don't have anyone around me. I don't have any distractions. I know what time I'm betting, and I don't have stuff coming up that can eat into it. I'm focused. So that's number 1. Make sure your environment is clean and crisp. Okay, second thing here, and this is actually now into actually arbitrage betting here. I would highly recommend that you avoid having games with minimal time left. And I'm talking about, like, if you're looking at a basketball game, I wouldn't touch anything that's in the last 25 to 30% of the game, right? We want to focus on first half stuff. And if it has gone into the second half of the game, or third quarter for NBA or second half for college, make sure that it's in the early part of that. Now, the reason why here is, number 1, lines could get pulled, right? If you're trying to bet on something that's got 2 minutes left in the game, the lines might just get removed on that one sports book, and that can introduce a lot of world of hurt. So that's one reason. Another reason here, if you make a mistake, you want to have enough time to rectify or fix it in coming up, right? So let's say you're betting on a sport, and on one sports book you got the bet in, but on the other one you haven't been able to get it in, and the sports book number 1 accepts your bet, number 2 it gets closed or the lines move or whatever. You want to have as much time as possible to camp that line, check other sports books, and try to find that line again to get the second half of your ARB, so then you're good, right? And you're not losing money. So having more time left in the game just makes it so much easier to do that, right? I would say, again, good rule of thumb, 65-70% to start the game, but when there's 30% left, just leave it. Third mistake that you could make, and something that you can do to reduce it, patience, my friends. Patience. The name of the game is to reduce mistakes to 0 and not force things, right? So if you pull up an ARB and one side is moving like crazy and you're trying to time it perfectly, it's just not worth it, because that, let's say $30, $40 profit on that one ARB, if you were to perfectly time it, is not worth the risk of placing it incorrectly or only getting one side of the bet in and having to camp that line for 20 minutes and try to fix it and maybe not even fix it. So patience. That makes it changes the game completely. If you're able to walk away from an ARB, you say, okay, technically I could place this right now, but you know what? It's not really worth it because the line is shifting too fast. I don't want to risk it. Let's go find an ARB where, it's in between plays, that halftime or something where the lines aren't moving as fast, and you can lock in that profit. Because if you lose, $300, $400, $500, $1,000 on one ARB, everything you've done the past week is completely wiped out. So make sure you deploy some patience. Okay, the last 2 tips here, I'm gonna jump on screen recording and walk you through them. Okay, 4th way to reduce mistakes, and this is reducing manual error, is by using the OddsJam one-click bet feature. This should be available in your location. If you have DraftKings, FanDuel, MGM, Caesars, all these main books, you can utilize this. And what I highly recommend, as you can see, I've split my screen here, and all you do is you simply take this and drag it to the other screen, right? And it will pull up that bet for you into your bet slip. It literally pulls it up into your bet slip on the correct side, right? And so when I say manual error, and this definitely reduces it, is that let's say you see there's an arb and you try to go place that and find it on your own. Number one, it's probably moved by now. You've taken way too long, even by thinking about it. And number 2, you might take the wrong side. You might take, for instance, in this one, it's odd or even. You might take even on both sportsbooks by accident, and you've completely screwed yourself. So make sure you take advantage of this OddsJam one-click bet feature, because it makes things super crisp and clean and fast. I mean, it's seriously a really great feature that I use all the time. 5th and final tip, and I've actually mentioned this one before, where you can copy the payout from one side and paste it into the payout on your second side of the arb. So let's pretend that this is an arb. It's not, it's completely different sports. But basically what you do is you put in the amount you want on your first book, so your unit size. For me, that's 500. I would copy the payout, Command C, just double click and Command C on the payout right here. Then I go over to my other sports book and Command V it, paste it into the payout section, and then you're good to go, right? It makes things super, super easy. And I'm gonna take this one step further, because this is the tip to actually reduce the mistakes on this one. Now, for Caesars and DraftKings, the payout number basically is what the entire payout is, right? It's not the profit. So let's say on the score here, right? And this is also ESPN. It's called The Score in Canada. On ESPN, when you put in a number, it tells you what you're going to win or profit, not the total payout. So my tip here is just make sure that you know that what sportsbook is a total payout and what sportsbook is the profit or the to win amount. Because if you were to paste 909.83 from here into the score, well, that is it's basically you're betting like double what you should be. So make sure that if you are using that tip I said in my last video where you're copy and pasting it, that you understand on what sports books you can and can't do that. So that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, found it useful, and maybe this will help you reduce your mistakes when you're live arbitrage betting. If you have any specific questions, feel free to drop them down below. I'd be happy to answer those questions in the comments and also make a new video answering them as well. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow.